This week, I thought about home. A concept as old as time. Whether you're a home is where the heart is, bless this mess, or welcome to the shit pit kind of person, the concept of home is pretty universally known. And if you don't know it, here's Webster's good luck. As what some people might call a high-functioning artistic person, I like to hyperfixate on topics for extended periods of time, and much like gifts from your grandmother, try to unpack them and understand them. And lucky for me, video games are the perfect medium to explore them, especially given that the two games I want to talk about today are not only two of my favorite games of all time, but also two of the only pieces of media that have given me a very real and emotional reaction that has left a lasting impact on me over the last 6 years, especially since I decided to cut off all sense of emotion so that I could stop getting hurt. Woo! And what game is a better place to start than the game that literally has the song titled Home in it? Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Unless you've lived under a rock or ignored it because of a very loud minority of a toxic fandom, or you just haven't played a game since the Wii era, hi Kevin. Undertale is an amazing game where your choices matter and shape the world around you, and more importantly, shape the meaning of home. Created by Toby Fox, this indie game is more than a couple of quirky characters and some cute pixel art. It's an exploration of where we belong and, more importantly, what it means to create a home for ourselves and others. You enter the world of Undertale as a very small child who falls down into a world full of monsters called the Underground. And when you encounter your first monster, your first instinct as a gamer is just to fucking yeah. But the more you navigate this realm, you come to realize that these monsters are just trying to find home in a world that casts them out. Some are lonely, some are lost. Most are dogs, but all of them are fiercely protective of this home they've created. The choices you make in Undertale, whether to fight or befriend, to slay or to spare, to ignore or to date, they're more than just game mechanics. They're reflections on what it means to create or destroy a sense of community or belonging. Because in the pacifist route, you find a home with the connections you begin to build with these characters, and all of a sudden, the Underground feels less like a prison and more like a place where you could stay with your friends. Or alternatively, in the genocide route, you take a path where you methodically destroy everything that might have made the Underground feel like a home to someone in the first place. You confront the uncomfortable truth that home isn't just a place, but an experience that is shaped by how we treat ourselves and those around us. Destroying the inhabitants of the Underground isn't just violence. It's the destruction of a community that live, work, and play Jackbox together to create a sense of belonging. Undertale made me reconsider what home really means. Is it a physical place? Is it the feeling of being understood or accepted? Is it something we build with others? Or something we find within ourselves? Is it butter? What do you mean this is not butter? What the fuck? Who made this? For a game with such simple graphics and mechanics, it made me question the foundations of where I really and truly felt at home. And it did so in a way that was both deeply profound and personal. Whether it was Toriel, the first major character you meet, who's immediately like, "Hello, little child, please come back to my house with me. I have created it to protect children like yourself." In retrospect, I understand that was creepy, but I promise it's sweet in the game. Or Asgore, the king of the Underground, who embodies a different idea of home, as he aims to bring his people back to the surface where they once lived. Even Sans, who seems to have a very different perspective, where home isn't necessarily a place, but rather an experience, and more about the connections you make in the moments of shared laughter. Undertale isn't just interested in showing us different interpretations of home, though. It challenges us to think about our own definitions. Because when you play the teacher's pet goody two-shoes pacifist route, you might find yourself actually growing attached to these characters, not you, big brother, wanting to make the Underground a home where people can be happy and play Jackbox with one another. This is all while the game dares you to take the violence-happy, take no prisoners genocide route, to see just what happens when you strip away everything that makes a community a community. It's a reminder that home isn't just handed to you, but it's created and protected through your actions. So what does that mean for us, the players? Maybe it's a call to reflect on our own lives, to think about the people and the places that we call home. Now, if Undertale is about creating and finding a home in a strange new place, then Night in the Woods is about what happens when you return to a place that should feel like home, but doesn't anymore. Night in the Woods, developed by Infinite Fall, is by far my favorite game of all time. So much so that I actually got a tattoo of it on my arm during a live stream. The game follows Mae Borowski, a college dropout returning to her old hometown of Possum Springs. On the surface, it's a sweet coming-of-age adventure, but beneath that, it's a game that digs into the complex and often painful reality of coming back to a place that was once your whole world, only to find that it changed. Or maybe you've changed. Or maybe both things are true and showing us that it's okay to cry, like a lot, and maybe you don't realize you're having a crisis until the anthropomorphic cartoon cat is also having one on screen with you. This game was a lot, okay? For Mae, coming home is supposed to be a return to familiarity and comfort. But the Possum Springs she finds is much different than the one she left. The town is crumbling, jobs are scarce, they don't have a GameStop, and many of her friends and family are just struggling to make ends meet. She expects to slip back into her old life effortlessly, but instead finds herself a stranger in her own hometown. This feeling is something I think a lot of us can relate to. Going back to a place we thought as home only to find a strange sense of disconnection. Like we no longer belong, like an old school or a town, or the laser tag place I can't go back to because laser tag is a non-combat sport, apparently. May's struggle is the journey of trying to reconcile her memories of home with the reality of what it's become. It's about coming to the term with the fact that you change, people change, places change, and we change. Because sometimes the things you thought you could always rely on don't always stay the same. It's like how your parents might have seemed all-knowing, but you realize in time that they're just as destructible and vulnerable as you. Or maybe you really liked Ash's character design and they went and changed it again because apparently they don't know that I don't like change, and why are they doing that? Night in the Woods doesn't present home as a static concept. It's not a place frozen in time waiting for you to return. Instead, it shows that home can change and evolve in ways that are uncomfortable and at times heartbreaking. It's a place full of ghosts, of the people we used to be, of the things that used to be there, and if you see Bruce Willis, then oh boy, buddy, I got some news for you. Throughout May's journey, we see this tension of past and present, and how she grapples with it. May herself is caught in this emotional tug of war. She's nostalgic for the past, but also desperate to understand what the future holds. Her attempts to reconnect with her old friends in town are at times awkward, sometimes touching, but always relatable. It's the awkwardness of trying to find a home in a place that feels both familiar and alien. Because while Undertale asks us what kind of home we can build for ourselves, Night in the Wood begs the question, what happens when you return to a home that no longer feels the same? It's about learning to accept that home isn't what we want it to be. Sometimes it's messy and imperfect, kind of like the latest modern baseball EP that released Please Give Us New Songs and Come Back, I Miss You. But sometimes it's also full of love and resilience in the connections we make, even as everything else around us changes. So what does home mean in Night in the Woods? Is it a place you can return to or something you carry with you? Is it the people, the places, or the memories that define it? Most importantly, what do you do when your idea of home no longer matches reality? Night in the Woods doesn't provide any easy answers, and that's what makes it so impactful. It reminds us that home isn't a fixed point on a map. It's a journey, a complicated, ever-evolving journey that we navigate throughout our lives. So why am I talking about home? Maybe it's because I felt like it was a good topic, or maybe it's because I recently had to move back in with my parents. Back to a house that isn't the one I grew up in and I've never spent enough time in to actually call it home. Maybe I feel a little bit like May lately, looking for my place in a world that seems to have shifted while I wasn't paying attention. And maybe, like in these games, I realized home isn't a destination, or even something that feels comfortable. Sometimes it's a collection of moments where you feel seen, heard, and loved, even while everything around you is changing. Maybe I just want to talk about my favorite games. Zen's got interests. I'm going to insert them. But I think it's more than that. Because whether you're in the underground with a bunch of monsters, or in a small, dying Midwest town full of anthropomorphic animals, the search for home is universal. It's messy and it's unpredictable, sometimes painful, but beautiful in its own right. And maybe that's the point. Home doesn't have to be a place. It can be a feeling, a memory, even a video game that makes you feel something real. It's something that changes as we change, grows as we grow. It's a work in progress, just like life. Sometimes it's what you build, sometimes it's what you come back to, sometimes it's what you find along the way, and sometimes it's a shit pit. My name is Zen, aka Zen Miso. Thank you for being here.